Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 413 of the All Dolphins podcast on this Friday, November 22nd, 2024, because I got ahead of myself here on the 61st anniversary of the JFK assassination. Beach, do you remember where you were when that happened?
Not even a glint in my father's eye. I was born in 1979, which is still really old. I mean, don't get me wrong, well, pretty ancient, but I'm not quite that old. Do you remember it?
No, I was too young, but I was alive.
You're alive.
We'll leave it at that.
What year were you born? Where were you born, Alan Kupar?
I was born in 1962. I'm not afraid.
All right.
So there you go. So we're 2 days away from the Dolphins resuming their quest to make a playoff push, this time against the New England Patriots at Hard Rock Stadium, looking for another sweep of the Patriots, which would be their second in a row and would continue their great record against the Pats since Tom Brady retired or moved away to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A lot on our plate today. Final injury report. We're going to get to us. Beasley's, and I haven't even introduced you yet. Joined today by Adam Beasley of Pro Football Network. I suck at this. Bad host. How are you, Adam Beasley of Pro Football Network?
I am wonderful. It's a beautiful Friday here in South Florida. It feels like Christmas weather out, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's very nice. It finally cooled down a little bit. So, my apologies again for having done a bad job as a host, not introducing my guest immediately.
Well, the good news is my name is right there.
That's a
very
there.
good point. So
for those listening on the audio port podcast, though, doesn't help. So bad down. We're going to get B's take on Tua and his recent surge and tremendous play. We're going to get Beasley to talk about his good friend Deshon Elliott, because he had a big game last night, made two big plays, and of course he had some comments that I know rubbed Beasley the wrong way because he wrote a column about it on ProFootballNetwork.com. All sorts of good stuff. Going to dissect the final injury report, talk about Teron Armstead and his situation going on. And let's start with that. Teron Armstead, the final injury report is out, listed as questionable, did not practice the entire week. That's now 2 weeks in a row. He didn't practice at all last week, but did play against the Las Vegas Raiders. And shocking, he was really good. This says questionable. He's going to try to play again. And we're into the portion of the season where Teron's going to be on the injury report probably every week, going to practice on a very limited basis. This is what we kind of signed up for, isn't it?
It's entirely possible that Teron Armstead never practices again, ever. Because we don't know if it's the last year, but just the sense I get is he probably is tired of being hurt all the time, right? And it took him a lot of soul searching to decide whether or not he was going to come back this year. He wouldn't even say at the Pro Bowl in February if he was going to play again. It took him another month to come to that decision. I don't think he came to it lightly. I think he is sick of being in the training room. The guy is 33 years old now. Is that what he is? Yeah. He made more money than he can probably spend. He's probably ready. My guess is to not be hurt constantly. And so, credit him for gutting this out, right? I mean, he sees something in this team that if he thought this was a lost cause, he would probably be on IR right now. Honestly, if he thought the year was shot, Tyreek Hill would probably be on IR right now. Anybody who's got something that is not going to go away before the end of the season. And so let me ask you this, actually, before we get deeper into Teron. At what point do you pull the ripcord? Like, if you're the Miami Dolphins, is it losing Sunday? Is it losing two more games? At what point do you throw in the towel is the wrong word because they're still going to try. But these guys that aren't going to be feeling good unless they get put on IR, get put on IR.
Well, it also part of it's going to come down to individual who, if Teron comes to the Dolphins and says, listen, technically we do have a shot at making the playoffs, but realistically we don't. And I'm not playing through any more things. Put me in IR or release me, one of the two. So it may come to that. I think from the Dolphins standpoint, they'll talk to the players, Tyreek, Teron, being two of them, and say, listen, you tell us until we're mathematically eliminated, we're going to give it the old college try and then see where it takes us.
Who else do you think's on that list? Raheem, maybe? I don't know.
There's nobody who's dealing with anything that's like chronic, that's in that same boat,
But I do think there would be.
Sorry.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I do think there'd be a ton of value to seeing if the season shot, what Patrick Paul could do, right? And with some of these, Jalen Wright and all these guys who are the future of this franchise, but they're not there yet. And I don't think they're going to be there in 4 days or whatever, because I think they're going to win on Sunday as well.
Correct. No, same here. And then part of one of my topics on my list here was how far we both think they can take this run. And I certainly don't think it ends against the Patriots on Sunday. The rest of the injury report very quickly. Kendall Fuller, again, out because of the concussion. That'll be second game he's going to miss. Fullback Alec Ingold, calf injury is questionable. And then you have the two guys who are still on the reserves or PUP list. That's Patrick McMorris, the rookie 6th-round pick from Cal, and Isaiah Wynn, who's dealing with a quad and knee. Mike McDaniel said before practice he did not anticipate this being the week that either would get activated. And as I wrote on Miami Dolphins on SI.com, this is it for as far as McMorris practice time. So next week, the Dolphins have to make a call on him. Either you stay on IR the entire season or they activate him and then have to make a corresponding move. And at this point, he's a rookie who's barely practiced. It wouldn't surprise me if the Dolphins decided, you know what, just spend the whole year on IR.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Chubb's an interesting one, right? He said again that he expects Chubb to play this year, but I think there's with a caveat. Like if you're the Dolphins, and again, I think they win this week. I think they get to 5-6. But if 5-6 turns into 5-8, do you say Bradley Chubb, hey, come back your best version in 2025? There's nothing you can do that can help us now. In fact, you don't want to get hurt again in a lost cause, which he did last year. Like that injury wasn't a lost cause. It was late. I don't know if you're going to dispute that it was good for him to be on the field.
No. And that to me, if nothing tops that as a coaching mistake by Mike McDaniel in 2023, what the hell was this guy doing on the field at the end of that game?
Agreed. So I don't think I think particularly after they saw what happened to Jalen Phillips, like you want to make sure, and again, we can talk about this all offseason if you want, but whether or not they like this core. They think this core has great potential. So if you're going to roll with this core, wouldn't you rather this core be at 100%? Alec Ingold is another interesting one, right? That calf doesn't seem like it's going to go away. Like our colleague, David Furones, had a calf injury, not to put him on blast, but he had a calf injury for probably – I'll do it. He is the king of putting on blast.
Yes, he is.
So, but I think he had a calf injury for like 8 months or something crazy. Those things linger. So I think he would, like Ingold would be another prime candidate for IR if it gets to that point. Yeah,
I would take issue with one thing you said, and it's a minor issue. I don't want to be full blast disagreement just yet. It's still early in the season. I don't know if I put Bradley Chubb in the category of the core. To me, the core is Tua, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle. Might even throw Alec Ingold in there because I know he loves him. Devon Achane for sure. That to me is kind of the core. Jalen Ramsey and Chubb is eminently cuttable next year, which is another factor to keep in mind. If I look at his number, if you make him like a post-June 1 cut, looking at $20 million of cap savings. It's not insignificant for a team that's going to have cap issues and will have difficult decisions to make.
Yeah, no, for sure. They also need pass rush, right? I mean, I think they're still third worst in sacks in the entire National Football League. And I don't know how much they're going to be able to count on Jalen Phillips early in the season. So, if they get to the draft and they fall in love with somebody, maybe I could see then Chubb being gone. But I feel like they gave up a lot to get the guy. They paid him a lot. So that's probably one they'll want to see through. One more who I would say we won't see again with 2 more losses is Kendall Fuller. I don't think that there would be any reason with a guy with 2 concussions in 1 year that, particularly with this team and Tua, what he's all been through and what they've learned, like hard lessons they've learned about the brain. I could see him another one. Like you want to have an answer on Cam Smith going into the offseason, and that would give you your opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I guess, except they keep playing Storm Duck ahead of him, so don't know if they want to get an answer. Maybe they want to get an answer on Ethan Bonner. Sorry, had to be done.
Shout out Joe Chad.
We're taking shots at all the beat writers here. So let's cross off the list. We got Furones, we got Shot. Okay. I do want to discuss Tua and his recent surge, and I wrote a column like earlier this week, basically saying he's playing the best ball of his career because, again, he's making plays off schedule more consistently than he ever has, and also because he's been lights out on third down. And it's interesting to me, though, because I check, like every national outlet now is doing quarterback rankings every week, which I don't know how fair it is, but whatever. And it's interesting because I've seen him as high as 5, and I've seen him as low as like 17 or 18. It's like, I mean, talk about people seeing completely different version. I would tell you right now, he's playing like he's balling out. And if you're talking like strictly right now, I mean, he deserves easily in the top 10.
Yeah, no, his production on third down is out of control. I think he's completing, like, since his return, I think almost more than 3 out of 4 passes on third down. And that's when it's supposed to be the hardest, right? It's easier to throw on first and second down. It is the hardest time to throw on third down. And it's not just picking up 3rd and 3s. Like, he had like a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and it's not, it's not one of these, jailhouse screens where they got, student body left leading the way for the running back. No, he is putting the ball in there. I'm with you. I think he's playing super, super well. And he's helped Mike McDaniel transform that offense into, the last 2 years, it was the Tyreek show and cross your fingers, right? I mean, Waddle got his production too, and they were able to run the ball. But if a team was able to put that umbrella over the top of the defense and take away that long stuff, Mike McDaniel froze. He didn't have an answer to that. I think, we all love Calais. We think he's a fabulous player. Kendall Fuller played really well this year, has played really well this year. I'm not writing him off, obviously. But the Jonnu Smith signing might have been the most impactful signing that they've had because he's allowed – you don't believe so? Because he's allowed them to –
Campbell to me would be the choice. But go ahead.
I don't know if Calais Campbell's – he's – made a bunch of really, really important plays for this team. No doubt about that. He might be more valuable than Jonnu, but I think Jonnu helped the Dolphins run an offense they needed to run. That, and I wrote this after the game, is that, what they're doing now, they're using their short passing game in lieu of runs, which, they would run the ball like crazy for a month, and now, Ingle got hurt and they're throwing it short instead. But it's still the same idea. They're okay. They're fine living in 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 all day. They're totally fine with that. And to me, that's something that can win more in the playoffs than crossing your fingers and hoping there's a couple of busts. Because really, that's what those Tyreek home run balls were. It's like, if a team is determined not to get beat deep, it won't happen. Mm-hmm. But a team who I'm determined not to let somebody pick up 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4. That's really hard to do, particularly with this team with all the weapons they have. So that's why I would say Jonnu, because you look at the snap count. I think Durham Smythe last year was on the field for 75% of all offensive plays. It's more like a third now. Yep. And that's because of Jonnu and to a degree Julian Hill too, and we can have that conversation. But the third down effectiveness, red zone effectiveness that we've had that's been improved, we've seen that's been improved, I think is largely because they have a tight end they can trust now.
That's absolutely part of it. Yeah. And here's the thing though, in the past 4 games, they're hitting at a 60% clip on third down, that's very unlikely to stay because that's just it. It's again, the Chiefs leave the NFL for the whole season at 51.9. So we're talking like over the top effective. If the Dolphins continue to hit like that on third down, they're going to win a lot of games and they're going to make a run. And the schedule already has weakened from how it appeared at the start of the season in terms of the final 6 games. And then every week we got to see more stuff. Brock Purdy now is apparently dealing with a right shoulder injury. Didn't practice Friday. They play Green Bay on Sunday. Is that going to be something that's going to linger for week 16? I think they play them. Packers very well going to be without their best cornerback, Jair Alexander. That's major. And then the Browns, regardless of how well they played on Sunday night, are not the team we expected them to be. So I think the table is setting up for a reversal of what the Dolphins seasons have been under Mike McDaniel, with the fast start, bad finishes, and maybe this is going to be the other way around this year. Slow start, really strong finish.
I'm curious what you think teams would. I don't agree. They're not going to convert 63% or whatever it is of their third downs for the rest of the season. It would be insanely efficient, like this.
Mhm.
But I do think that so long as they play this controlled style, they're going to be in 3rd and 5 and shorter a lot of times. They are. And as I said, they're okay living in that world. If you're a defense, what do you do? Like you can't cover everybody. Like you can't. Because if you single Tyreek and Jalen, they're going to beat you, right? And if you single like Devon Achane, we haven't mentioned his name yet. I think he is insanely valuable to this team as well. So they have 4 different. Let's be honest, they have 4.5 with Odell, 4.5 real options on third down. When last year 2.5 maybe. Like to me, that's why. Like again, injuries happen, so nothing's permanent, but if this core stays healthy for the next month and a half, they're going to have success. And teams aren't going to blitz them. They're not going to play single high safety. They're not going to do that crazy stuff against this because, you'll have the Tyreek show again. So I don't know why it took Mike so long to get to this because even early in the season, they beat Jacksonville. They lost to Buffalo. Even with Tua, that offense didn't look like this. It didn't. No. So,
and part of it is Tua also. I mean, Tua is playing better now than he did in the first 2 games. I mean, let's not kid ourselves.
100% true. Do you think there's something to them not practicing as much as others maybe during training camp, not playing their guys more than one series in preseason, and just being rusty as hell? Like it might have been a combination of that, and then your quarterback gets hurt in 7 quarters into the season. That might not excuse, but explain the first 2 months of the season.
Yeah, and the key for the Dolphins and conversely for their opponents is again, Tua right now is in a groove. Okay, and how long is it going to last? We don't know. Is he going to play like this the rest of the season? He plays like this the rest of the season. Dolphins make the playoffs. We need to start talking about him as being maybe in the MVP conversation.
What about this comeback player of the year? Can you come back in the course of the season when you had other NFL coaches suggesting you retire and then you lead your team on a playoff run? I could talk myself into that.
Yep. But that's a question. And the other issue again with something else that they've done really, really well the last 4 games that shouldn't be overlooked is they've avoided penalties. Because the way the offense is operating right now, you start getting a couple of holding penalties and you're in 2nd and 20, then it becomes a little bit
100%. And I think that was killer. Then there was an enormous difference between 3rd and 4 and 3rd and 9. Yep. I think probably like 15%, 20% of conversion. Like that's how big that extra 5 yards is. Why do you think that's flipped? Why do you think they've gotten so much better on penalties?
I don't know that there's a rhyme or reason. I mean, I don't recall that there were a couple of pre-snap penalties. Maybe Mike McDaniel had a heart-to-heart with Julian Hill on those. But I don't know that I've noticed anything significant to explain it, really.
They haven't changed their personnel, right? It's still the same dude. Although Tua, I think on offense, he makes things operate smoother, not just when the play is going on, but when the play is coming in.
Sure. No, without question. And again, we're going to speak to how insanely ill prepared they were to have to navigate some games without Tua. It's like, oh my God. I mean, as well as Tua is playing and he's playing great, you should not have that kind of a drop off to your backup quarterback. It's insane.
Who needs to answer for that?
Whoever was decision maker, whether it was Chris Greer or whether it was Mike McDaniel who talked Chris Greer into believing, I got Skylar. Skylar's going to make you watch. Skylar's is going to make it work if something happens to Tua.
What about Steve Ross? If Steve Ross, you're 84 years old and you're going to the season saying, "Hey, we got a quarterback that's been hurt a bunch. He wants a bunch of money. I'm demanding you go and get yourself a better backup quarterback." I mean, they all overvalue Skylar. They all like the entire organization. That was the original sin. They all thought Skylar was going to be good in year 3 in the system, and he wasn't.
Correct. And to me, again, it wasn't so much that he wasn't good as he looked overwhelmed. He looked like, as the expression goes, it's a very cool expression. I like it. He was over his skis. Love that expression.
It's a great expression.
Check out this segue. Speaking of skis, we had snow last night in the game in Cleveland. How's that? About that right? Thank you. I don't get a kudo now. Okay, fine.
No, that is.
I'll give myself hearts. There you go. Thank you. Okay.
Can I not do it?
Nope. I guess not.
Why can't I give hearts?
I don't know. Do you have a MacBook Pro? No. You don't know what kind of laptop you have?
No, I don't have a MacBook Pro. I have a Dell.
Okay, maybe that's. I have no idea. I don't even know how it comes out to do it. Anyway, by the way, insanely cool visual. I don't know. Maybe,
dude, and that's the thing. I know our buddy Shad. Second time we've name dropped him. Wants every cold weather venue to have a dome, and to a degree, I agree, because you don't want a championship to be decided in environments like Kansas City was. Like, right? Like, you don't want. Not that the Dolphins were a better team that year, but say they were, and they had to go and play in a place that was like the North Pole, but you can't add $150 million to a budget for a stadium build for one set of every 10 years or whatever. I mean, that's if it's 23 and snowing, suck it up. 23 below is a different beast, right? And so I get it. I get why you're not going to incur that cost, but I do think that it does absolutely add something very cool to the National Football League.
It's such a great visual. And who knows, maybe we see that on the night of Sunday, December 29th, if the game doesn't get flexed out. And check out them, MiamiDolphinsOnTheSide.com. I have a story on the Dolphins' remaining schedule and the flex situation, all of those. And without revealing too much, I initially thought it was a slam dunk that game on week 17 would get flexed out. Now I would say I'm not so sure. So read the story. There you go.
I will.
Free plug. I mentioned earlier, Deshon Elliott had some key plays in the game. He had a fumble recovery and a forced fumble. By the way, and this gets into the whole situation with Tua. We don't want him tackling after a pick. Jameis Winston running down the field to tackle the guy who recovered the fumble 20 yards on the field. I'm sorry, but that was insanely cool. Was it not?
I'm gonna be honest with you. That happened after I fell asleep. I passed out on the couch last night, but I'll take your word for it. It was a cool play.
Oh, look, check out the clip. I mean, first of all, he moves up in the pocket, throws a nice pass to his receiver, Cedric Tillman. It's like a 15, 20-yard gain. Deshon Elliott pops his helmet. The ball goes up straight into the arms of his team.
Oh, yeah, I did see that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And Winston never stopped running and makes the tackle 20 yards down. I mean, that was cool. Tua would never, ever do that, but it was cool.
He also has like 4 inches and 50 pounds on Tua. So
right.
Winston's a big dude, man.
Yes, he is. Okay, so I haven't gotten you to take you wrote a column, a very strongly worded column, I might add, on pfn.com. So can you summarize your thoughts on Deshon Elliott and his comments about the Dolphins potentially being soft?
Reasonable message, 100% flawed message. Okay? Because Deshon Elliott, he throws grenades every time he leaves the team. Every time there's, for some reason, bad blood. And so I don't doubt that they had a problem with folding last year. I mean, I don't think anyone who had eyes could see if you get up on the Miami Dolphins, it'd be really hard for them to come back. I do think some of that has kind of turned around a little bit. I think, certainly some of the games that they won, Jacksonville in particular, may not have won in years past. I'm with you on that. However, I don't want to hear your nonsense. All right, Deshon Elliott, you were garbage here with the Miami Dolphins last year. You were a bad football player. Bad football player. His passer rating against, I think, was 149. 9 missed tackles, 5 touchdowns allowed. You know why he's having success in Pittsburgh this year, Alan? Because they've made him a linebacker. Okay? He's not a safety. Going into last week's game, his average depth of target was 3.8 yards. No wonder he's not getting beat this year. He's covering fullbacks, okay? So, yeah, Dolphins could have been a little tougher last year. You could have been a little less sucky, all right? That's how I feel about Deshon Elliott, and that's what I wrote on ProFootballNetwork.com. I loathe when players that were part of the problem leave and act like their bleep doesn't stink. And that's what he did last year with the Miami Dolphins. So, look, God bless him. He found a team that's going to make him a linebacker. He's a safety. I get it. A safety. Okay. And he did have a really cool tackle last night. Caused a fumble. That was cool. I get it. There's a reason, however, he's not chasing guys, Jerry Jeudy downfield. Because he runs a 5.4. Okay. And therein ends the rant. You've got my thoughts on the matter.
Okay, so none of this from you. For those listening on the audio portion, I'm doing the hearts here. None of this for you. No,
one of these is what I'm
getting
doing.
It 2 times up. That's funny. Speaking of safeties, the Dolphins have one who Pro Football Focus, if you were a believer in those metrics, and I use them every once in a while, specifically if they back up my claims.
Confirmation bias.
Exactly. PFF loves them some Javon Holland. To me, I think he's a good safety. I don't know that I'd make him put him in the category of elite, and he's a pending free agent, and he is classified. You see national outlets do their rankings of pending free agents, and he's in the top 5 regularly. And I'm like, really? And my expectation is, I think his agent, who also represents Christian Wilkins, chances are going to be looking for a lot more than the Dolphins are willing to pay. And the question is, sorry?
Yeah, so totally. Like they don't have, they're not at all cap rich next year, and they're going to have to make some tough decisions. And certainly he's in the same boat Wilkins was. If it was going to get done, it had to have gotten done by now. If you're, what are we, November 22nd, free agency is less than 4 months away. If you're 4 months away from perhaps the biggest windfall that you'll ever see in your life, why would you take a dime less to stay with a team that hasn't paid you? Like, if you're Javon, you look around, everybody else has gotten paid. Like, Tyreek's gotten paid twice since Javon's been paid, right? Jalen Ramsey, the Dolphins didn't need to give him more money.
Correct.
They didn't need to do that. They did. I think he's a phenomenal player. And look, he
phenomenal.
Yeah, no, he is. For what he does, I wish he made more plays in the mold of Antoine Winfield. I get it. Yeah, understood. But he's always in the right place at the right time. I think he's had one bad coverage play that I can remember, and that was the DK Metcalf touchdown. Yes. And we're not even 100% sure that was on him, but it probably was.
It looked like it.
Yeah. But regardless, DK Metcalf running downhill, which is a scary proposition. Okay. Yeah. I get it. But beyond that, like, I think he's just, yes, I wish he made more plays. I think he had so much value to that back end that we can't really quantify. And their defense will be worse when he leaves, but I do expect him to leave. I think that I haven't looked at the tag number, but it's probably 18 plus for a safety next year. And Dolphins don't have that money, and I think they'll gladly pocket the compensatory 3rd round pick.
Safeties franchise tag is 19.5. Transition tag is 15.5.
Transition tag is the most useless tag. Like, that is the most useless function in all of professional sports. Like, how does that help you at all? I guess.
It's less money tied into your cap until something happens.
That's all it does. It gives you on the front end more flexibility, but it also allows teams to poison pill you to death.
Yeah, that is true. It's an interesting situation. I mean, we shouldn't look too far ahead, but Dolphins at safety, Marcus May's on a 1-year contract. Jordan Poyer's on a 1-year contract. Javon Holland is a pending free agent. It's going to be Patrick McMorris. I think Elijah Campbell also his contract expires. So it's going to be could be a whole new safety crew in 2025. Okay, before we wrap it up, I know you've already put that in print. Talk about old-timer term here. On the web, your prediction for the game. So what do you say, a lot to a little?
What is it, 7.5? That sounds about right. I think the Patriots have been playing better offensive football since Drake. I almost said Marcus May. Since Drake May has taken over the last 4, I think, have been 4 of their better games offensively. I mean, they scored 22 in a loss last week, so that's not It's not terrible. I think the Patriots defense is dreadful. I think it's really, really bad. You look at that personnel. I don't think anybody has more than 5 sacks on the year. They're not a big pressure team. There's just not a lot of talent there. And with as well as the Dolphins offense is playing, I don't know how many stops they're going to be able to get. So, I could see 30-17, something like that would be my guess.
Okay. This is the part where I mentioned that I predicted 34-13 against the Raiders. It was 34-19. So I'll give myself a half tap on the back, a half pat on the back.
You deserve it.
Yeah. There you go. And you mentioned the Patriots defense. Christian Gonzalez showed up on the injury report on Friday with a shoulder injury or back injury. And that was listed as questionable. That's not an insignificant development. That dude can play. I haven't made my official final score prediction. That'll come Saturday on MiamiDolphinsInside.com. By all the comments I made all week, I think you guys can figure out. I think the Dolphins are going to win and pretty handily. And before we say goodbye to Adam Beasley from Pro Football Network, catch his fine work at PFN.com. Bees, did you not promise me a story that you wanted to share?
Okay, so these are beautiful, brand new, I believe it's Armani Exchange.
Whoa.
Glasses. Thankfully, the good people at PFN have good vision insurance because I had to get these in a pinch. Shout out to good people at Target. They turn around in less than a week because my last ones are in a million pieces now.
Whoa.
Why are they? And I just bought those, by the way. Why are they in a million pieces? Because my wife ran them over with her vehicle.
Oh. Of course, now the next question is, what were they doing?
Well, they were attached to my face, and she was no.
Well, yeah, he was really mad. We had an argument.
I had this is kind of like a Keystone Cops type of situation. I was doing some painting. The paint spilled all over the garage floor. I, in a frenzy, went to mop it up. And I didn't want to get paint on my glasses. I took them off. I put them on top of her car and totally forgot about them. So when I say my wife ran them over, idiot Beasley left them in a place where no one in a million years would think to look for glasses. And she's all 5'3", I think, so 5'4" maybe. So she's not seen over the top of her SUV. But anyway, what do you guys think? Nice?
Very nice.
A little Buddy Holly-ish?
That's actually very good. I like that. That's very good. I once actually sat on a pair of my glasses, which is probably even dumber. But right now I don't have that issue because I got the old contact lenses. And otherwise,
I was wondering if you got LASIK.
Yeah. What?
I was wondering if you had gotten LASIK. I am terrified of putting contacts in my eyes, so I will be wearing glasses forever. It's
really, for those out there who are in Bees' predicament, it's really not a big deal once you get used to it. And I can play with my eyeballs like this.
I don't even like eye drops. I'm not going to.
Oh, man. On that note, thanks as always to Adam Beasley from Pro Football Network. Thanks, Bees. Gang, please like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. We will be back here on Saturday with Dave Hyde from the South Florida Sun Sentinel. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will catch you later. Thanks, everyone.